Very good morning, Anand sir. I hope I'm audible to you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir,
Hello.
loud and clear, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir, you are audible, loud and clear.
Fine.
Sir, shall I give you the rights for presentation?
No, I don't have a
Okay.
presentation. I'll just
Yes.
give a talk, and then I would like the participant to ask you more questions
Yes.
so that it
Yes.
becomes interactive.
Better, sir. Okay. So we'll wait for 5 more minutes and we'll start
Okay.
sharp at 11.
Okay. Fine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. A very good morning to Vignesh, sir. Sir, I hope I'm audible to you as well.
Yes. Am I audible
Thank
to
you,
you?
sir. Yes, sir. Loud and clear, sir. So a very good morning and welcome to the third and final day of 3 days online training program on impact of weather and air quality in the changing climate of Delhi and NCR region. This online training program is a joint collaboration of National Institute of Disaster Management under Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, and Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Combating of Climate Change, Bokhali, New Delhi. Is the PPT visible? Yeah. I would like to welcome the esteemed speaker of the session today. We have with us Sri Anand Sharma. Sir is working as Additional Director General, Scientist G, Head, RCM IMD, New Delhi. Sir is also the head of Social Media, Training Division, School Project, Advisory Services. And Sir has also worked as Deputy Director General of Meteorology at the Regional Meteorological Center, New Delhi. Sir's core interest lies in weather prediction, crop weather stimulation, agro advisories, mountain meteorology, early warning of extreme weather phenomenon. It's an honor and pleasure to have you for the session, sir. I would also like to welcome Dr. Vignesh, Assistant Professor at SRM University. Sir's research intervention is disaster risk reduction. Sir is highly interested to work on disaster resilience and capacity building for the nation, and is skilled in remote sensing and geographical information system. So I would like to welcome the esteemed speakers and definitely the participants from multidisciplinary background who have taken out the precious time and joined with us for the session. Yeah. So for the first speaker of the day, I would like to invite Sri Anand Sharma, sir, Additional DG Scientist G, Head RCM IMD, to kindly start with this lecture. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. Very good morning and namaskar to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Great. So I'm grateful and thankful to NIDM for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you. And the topic is very timely, relevant, and especially when we talk about early warning, and that too in relation to extreme weather events. And air quality again is one of the weather induced extreme event which mainly is impacting the North India and Delhi NCR region. So that's why I said, and this is a time when you have more of such problem. But luckily, I think we have now a western disturbance, and Delhi and NCR and northern India will receive rain in a way. Rain, as we call, is a natural scavenger. So it will clean the pollutants from the atmosphere. So this time we are lucky that we are frequently getting the western disturbances, which are again, they provide rain. So it's a natural cleansing mechanism. So pollutant levels definitely will be lower as compared to previous year. As I am in Cochin, so I have some problem with my laptop. I'm giving you lecture through my mobile. I hope it's fine. Okay, now coming back to the topic, early warning. As the word early warning suggests, a warning about any weather related phenomena which can lead to extreme events, and that too before the event happens. Normally people many a time thinks, it's a sort of machine or something where you just put it on and it gives you a warning, early warning. But it's not like that. It's entire mechanism, and weather forecasting and warning is just one of the components of the early warning system. I think already Rajneesh Ranjanji have already talked about early warning system in relation to DRR. But again, I'll repeat some of the points, as you know, so that then I can build upon it. As all of you know, the early warning is very, very important component of disaster risk reduction because, and that too in relation to weather and climate extremes. 70 to 80% of all extreme phenomena, or I should say disasters, have their basis in the weather related events, be it tornado, be it thunderstorm, dust storm, or snowstorms, gusty winds, squall, cyclones. You name the thing, and you will come to know that the 70 to 80% of weather-based extremes lead to disasters. And let me tell you here that now the science of meteorology is improved, and we can prevent these hazards getting converted into disasters. Earlier, when the technology was not there, early warning was not so good, most of these hazards were getting converted into disasters. But now it is possible to forewarn, and once you do the forewarning, I think you can take action, and the extreme weather event will happen, but with less of casualties, especially human casualties. Okay. Now coming back again to extreme warning, early warning system. As you know, it has mainly 4 components. The first component is your risk assessment or risk mapping. So this is mainly done by different agencies, maybe central agencies as well as the state agencies. Say, for example, you are in a coastal area, so you should know, which are the areas which are highly risk prone, where the water levels they might go when a cyclone or a tsunami or any such thing event comes, or there is an extreme weather event. Then up to what level the water level will rise, say 2 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter, like that. So you do the mapping. So state governments also do it, and sometimes national agencies, which maybe space agencies or GSI or Survey of India, many such agencies do this kind of uh, assessments, risk assessments. So that becomes the first components. Second component is your monitoring, assessment, and again prediction of weather phenomena. This mandate is with the India Meteorological Department, and India Meteorological Department does it very efficiently. We have an excellent network of manual as well as automatic weather stations at the surface level, which these instruments are the surface at the ground level. And in addition to that, we also have upper air observations. So if you want to predict weather, it's not that you need only weather information at the ground level. You have to understand the three-dimensional structure of the atmosphere. So you should also know, like the temperature, humidity, pressure, etc. at the ground level. But what is happening at, say, 1 kilometer, 3 kilometers, 6 kilometers, 9 kilometers? So we also need to have observations at different levels. So how do we get that? At the ground level, it is very easy to measure. You install the instruments and you measure it. But in the atmosphere, it is very difficult. So there are 2 ways one can do. One is that you drop a parachute and attach all the sensors for measuring temperature, humidity, pressure, etc. And as the parachute descends down, like along with the instruments, it radio signals the weather data and observation. The other mechanism is that you attach all these instruments with a special balloons, which are hydrogen-filled balloons, and then release those balloons along with the instruments. As the instruments rise up, or the balloon rises up, we get the data at different levels through radio signals. This is what India Meteorological Department is doing. Maybe around 60, 70 such stations all over India, and it is done twice. And it's a very important source of information. So once you have the surface data and you have the data from the upper levels, you try to analyze those data, you plot those data, and next is plotting. But earlier it was done manually. Nowadays we do it through computers. So data observations, collection of data plotting, and data analysis, and then you draw inference, and then you predict weather. So important component, second important component of early warning system is monitoring and prediction. So you predict, you give early warning of some event. So that is component number 2. The third component comes communication. So again, it's a very important component. Like suppose if I give a weather forecast and I keep it in my register or in my computer, and I don't disseminate this, so it has no value. Although I might say my weather forecast was correct, but it has not reached the masses or the planners. So the third component is very, very important: dissemination and communication of timely. That too also timely. And when we say in weather and climate, we say real time. So real time observations as well as real time dissemination of weather forecast and warnings. So weather forecast, again, very important. It should be timely. That means it should reach the planners as well as the audience or the general masses well before the event happens. Then only they can prepare and save their lives and property. So this is a very, very important. Second, again, in this, very important, the weather forecast should be accurate. If it's not accurate, it's of no use. Thirdly, it should be location specific. That means it should say where exactly the extreme weather event is going to happen. So it should pinpoint the area. Fourthly, it should also be impact based. That means what kind of impact is going to create. Suppose there is a heavy rain is expected, and we have given the early warning for a heavy rain. So we should say heavy rain means how much you are expecting, around say 10 centimeters. And if that happens, where for which the weather warning is given, then how much the water level is going to go up, which are the areas where likely there could be some stagnation of water, and it might lead to some people who are traveling through cars or bikes, they might have faced problems. So this is called impact based forecast. So there are many components of that which we can discuss if people are interested later on. So this is the entire process of weather monitoring, prediction, and communication. So now communication means how I should communicate that. So as I said, it should be real-time basis, and it should, again, language also is very, very important here. It should be in a very simple manner. Language should be very simple so that everybody can understand it, and there should not be any, ambiguity in that. It should be clear-cut message. Okay, now communication. So India Meteorological Department uses all sorts of communication mechanism, I should say, be it radio, television, newspaper, internet, fax, satellite radio, community radio. So all possible means of communications are used, and weather information is communicated to the planners and to the general masses. So once they have this information prior to the event, they can definitely take necessary action and prevent this and hazard getting converted into disaster. And now the fourth component, which is a very important component here, again, is response. So the response, again, is the responsibility of the state governments or the district government officials. So if they take timely response to whatever has been forecast or whatever early warning has been given, then timely action will prevent, definitely, it will reduce the loss of life. But sometimes property, because it is fixed, it cannot be saved, especially in the case of cyclone, when the strong winds and heavy rains come, so many structures get destroyed. So these are the four components. So remember, early warning system will be successful only if all these four components are in harmony and they work together. Even if one of the component is weak, the entire early warning system will fail. I will give you one example here of early warning which we had given for, especially I had given for Kedarnath disaster of 2013, where we had given the weather warnings to the state government 3 to 4 days in advance. It was published on the front page of all the newspapers, and it was on television everywhere. But still, about, I think, 15 to 20,000 people were found missing, and the government at the time, the blame game started, and they said, but had not given the forecast and warning, timely warning. But we got all emails with time, everything, and it was timely. It was before the event. One. Second, the language was very clear cut. We had said postpone Char Dham Yatra by 3 to 4 days. Two, we had said there will be landslides, so we had also told the impact. And we also said if you are in the mountains, move to the safer places. If you are in the plains, do not venture into the mountains. So very clear-cut message was given to the state government official. It was given to the Secretary Disaster Management, Director Disaster Management. It was also communicated to the Chief Secretary through the IG Intelligence. It was also communicated to the Chief Secretary. So everybody knew it, and people who came to know through newspaper and television called, we want to go to the mountains. I said, no, you should not go because it's a very serious situation. So many people listened to it and they saved their lives, but many who didn't listen or who were already had left for Yatra a week ago when there was no such signal of any extreme events. They were caught unaware, and there was no mechanism by the government to inform them at the last moment because there was no registration of the tourists or the people who go for the yatras. There was no shelters where tourists could go and, save their lives. Hardly there were no alternate routes and no vehicle registration. So there was no system in place. That's why all this happens. But if you remember, whenever a cyclone comes in and strikes any of the coastal cities, or major like Odisha, Andhra, they have the shelters ready. So immediately the warning is given by the Met Department to the Chief Secretary and the DMs of that particular district where it's going to landfall. So immediately the people who are at risk, because already you know that these are the people who are at most risk, those people are shifted to the shelters, and there they are provided food, water, medicine, whatever they require. And once the cyclone impact or the major damaging, like wind speed, rain, and your storm surge reduces and comes back to normal, again people are shifted back. So this is how this entire early warning system works, and especially for the cyclone, it is fantastic. It has been, working very consistently. IMD has been issuing excellent forecasts, and that is the reason earlier, you must have observed that people used to die in maybe 50, 70,000 or 1 lakh people in Bangladesh or India. But nowadays, that figure has come down to two figures, maybe 10, 20, 30 like that. But that too also, it should be a zero tolerance. We should reduce it to zero. So this is how your early warning system works. But remember, as I told you, if there is a correct early warning, but there is no communication, or there is no response, or there is no action from the state government or whatever central government, then it's of no use. That's what we say. Early warning without early communication and early action has no meaning, and that happens many a time. But naturally, and as you have seen in the case of Kedarnath, when the warning from IMD, especially the Meteorological Center, Dehradun, where I was director at that time, I had given timely, and action was half-hearted from the state government, and many people lost their lives. And finally, they wanted to take action on IMD, but then our forecast, everything was accurate, which was, again examined by the first time in the history of India Met Department by the Comptroller and Auditor General, CAG office. Their officials came, they scrutinized all our records and weather forecasts. They gave us a clear sheet, in fact, appreciated our forecast. Similarly, World Bank team came and they saw our weather forecasts and warnings. They appreciated our weather forecasts. And finally, even some NGOs did that. And everybody said that we had given timely warnings. And the state government was, was a lack of, timely action from the state government. Many people lost their lives. So this is very important. So, but then after this event, many states have learned a lesson that if you don't act, action will be taken against you. And I think that was the one reason when Chief Minister of that particular state, Uttarakhand, was removed, and a new one was installed. So I think Odisha has learned a lesson that now you cannot be relaxed. And if you don't take action, then you will have to be a big loss. So now many governments have become quite proactive, especially Odisha government. You see, whenever a cyclone comes, immediately they take action. So this is a let's say, people realize that if you do not act, whosoever you may be, action will be taken against you. So no agency can escape now, maybe IMD or any other related agency. Everybody has to act. But now one thing has definitely happened with different agencies, be it India Meteorological Department or NDMA or NIDM or state disaster response forces or various state, all are now, becoming more and more proactive, and they're acting as a team. And because of that, many of such hazards are not getting converted into disasters, and losses have reduced. But so a very important thing, that early warning system. So again, many people think that in the case of Kedarnath thing, state government said IMD doesn't have radar, that's why they could not do the correct prediction. But remember, radar gives you only 2 to 3 hours in advance. It tells you where heavy rain is going to happen. But here we had given 3 days in advance. It was a system which was a very clear-cut synoptic system, which we were monitoring it and we predicted it well in advance. So remember this, many people try to confuse things, that radar or some machine is there which will give you early warning. No, it's not like that. It's a system. It's a complete system. Remember this, even weather forecasting, it's not just one part. We use all kinds of technology, be it radar, be satellite. Satellite is very, very important thing. These are eye in the sky. They tell you about lots of information about water vapor, winds, clouds, even your convergence, divergence. So all these things help us. So technology has definitely helped us, and we also have state-of-the-art, numerical weather prediction models, which we run on supercomputer. So all this and the data which we collect all over. So data goes into it, computer analyzes it, and then again the latest information, current synoptic situation goes into it, and the model predicts the weather for the next few days. So this, but remember this, whatever is coming from the computer is a machine forecast. Some machine, and remember this, numerical weather prediction models are not perfect. So they will not give you perfect forecast. So here what we do is that human experience comes into picture. So whatever past knowledge I have of the area of the particular district or the state, that matters a lot. And many times it's also very important, the local topography, orography, how the mountain valleys are spread out. So that knowledge is very, very important. So if you have your own synoptic knowledge and orography knowledge, that you add forecast, and this becomes man-machine mix. So this is the important thing. Many places people think that a computer can do everything. But yes, in maybe in another 10 years, who knows when the artificial intelligence and other tools become too advanced. So human dependence will reduce, but not now. Presently, we have to adopt man-machine mix because the models are not perfect. And that's why the role of weather forecaster is very, very important. And India Meteorological Department is doing this job perfectly. And we are able to predict many of the phenomena. But remember, there are certain phenomena for which, like, for example, tornado or severe thunderstorms, which we call it mesoscale phenomena. Mesoscale phenomena means like the weather system affects only tens of kilometers, maybe 30 kilometers, 40 or 50 kilometers area only, small area. And the entire phenomena of thunderstorm is over within a 1 hour like or so. So it's a mesoscale phenomena. These mesoscale phenomena especially are very difficult to capture because they happen in a very short time. That means entire life cycle is completed in 1 hour. So that means first thing is you have to detect the thunderstorm clouds which are developing. Then you have to monitor them, whether they're growing and which direction they're moving. And then you have to give the prediction.
So you are hardly left with 10 minutes or 15 minutes for after you have detected and monitored and you have about to predict. So then you have to communicate. So that means you have 10 minutes left for communication. And do we have that kind of communication mechanism? That's a big problem. Say, for example, it is 11:30 or 12 o'clock in the night. Now a certain system develops whom I'm going to communicate to. Maybe state government officials are not there at that time. Television channels are not working, maybe, or even if they're, who is going to see the television at that time? So this becomes a problem. And many times this also happens that when the system starts raining, your electricity goes and radio doesn't work, television doesn't work, and sometimes mobile doesn't work. How are you going to communicate? So this is a big challenge for us, and especially in the mountains. And especially the mountains earlier when there was no radar, so it was very difficult to predict a thunderstorm, a severe thunderstorm in next 40, 50 or 20 minutes. So, but then we realized that, and recently when I was head of the Northern India, so I have undertaken installations of radar right from Leh to Jammu Kashmir to, we had Srinagar radar, and then we had Himachal, Kufri, we have installed a radar. Another radar is it's under construction in Himachal Pradesh. Then we have installed radar at Mukteshwar in Nainital district. Another radar we have installed at near Dhanolti. And one more is Lansdowne is under this thing. We have required the land. I personally went to the Leinster Army and we have got the land. And in future, we will be installing another radar over there. So once we have an excellent radar network, so mesoscale thunderstorms will also be predicted well in advance, and we can issue nowcast for that. So remember that it depends on the weather system. Certain weather systems can be predicted with quite accuracy, and some systems which have a very short life cycle, they are difficult to predict, especially if you do not have radar. So radar and satellite and mesoscale models are very, very important for short-term phenomena like mesoscale system. And the another important component, as I said, is communication or dissemination of information, which is very, very crucial. But as I told you, the mountains and extreme weather starts, your electricity goes, and you don't have access to radio, television, and even your mobiles. And of course, newspaper gives you late news or it never reaches there on time. So how do you communicate? That's the big challenge. Radio, yeah, sometimes you may have batteries, but again, the batteries may be quite old and it has already leaked and it doesn't work. So for that, we have to have certain special communication mechanism. One is that you can have your tone alert hand winding radio. Tone alert hand winding radio, that means these kind of radios do not require any battery or electricity to work. They have a handle behind it. If you wind it for 60 times, and just like a dynamo in your cycle which gives you light, so it runs, your radio runs for 1 hour. So, and then it also has, some radios also have tone alert component. That means even if it is switched off, there will be beep sound. That means there is some warning being issued. So you can listen to that. So these kind of tone alert hand winding radio combined with community radio system. That means, because if you have a centralized system, maybe signals may become very weak, or particular valleys or particular side of the mountains, the information or early warning may not reach. So small area covering with good quality signals is possible through a combination of community radio, where you have tone alert hand winding radios. And especially after the Kedarnath, some agencies have come forward, and I think a number of community radios have started working in Mussoorie, in Rudraprayag districts, in Almora, and many other places in the mountains. So, and not only that, even Pantnagar has a radio. So what I stress here is that communication is very, very important component, and community radio is a very, I mean, it doesn't require much capital to begin with, very simple to install, very simple to operate. So it should be allowed. Earlier, the Government of India's policies were that nobody can independently operate a community radio, but now that thing has been relaxed. All universities or even NGOs can apply for license and they can get this. And it will be not only useful for just for disaster management and communication advisory. You can do many things through that, through educational awareness, through polio or this kind of vaccinations drives, and even music and promoting local talent. So community radio, I feel, is an excellent tool for promoting local culture as well. And definitely it is a major role to play in disaster risk reduction. So, and in addition to that, now, this is one thing that there is no, doubt that whether it's a cyclone or a thunderstorm or squall or any kind of weather phenomena, weather plays an important role, and early warning reduces the impact and thereby prevents a hazard getting converted to disaster. And now it's coming back to the air quality. So you remember that the pollution events, again, pollution is a atmospheric phenomena, and weather has a very, very, very important role to play, because all these kind of pollution events which you see over Delhi NCR, especially in northern India, they happen when the atmosphere is stable. So remember, the atmosphere has two conditions. One is stable atmospheric conditions and unstable atmospheric conditions. Under unstable atmospheric condition, it means that the air rises up along with the moisture, cloud formation takes place, and either because of warming or it is because of weather system, and then it rains, and then because it rains, so whatever pollutants are there, they are washed out. As I told earlier, रेन इज ए नेचुरल स्केवेंजर. हमारे घर में तो हम लोग खुद सफाई कर लेते हैं, घर की सफाई, पर एनवायरमेंट एटमॉस्फेयर की सफाई जो है रेन करता है. तो अगेन वेदर इज ए वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. So as long as your atmosphere is unstable, no problem. Pollutants don't accumulate. That's why you don't see much pollution events in pre-monsoon season when there is a lot of heating, March, April, May, atmosphere is unstable. Pollutants don't stick together, winds are stronger. Even if pollutants are generated, they are dispersed. Okay. And similarly, when you have rainy season, again, you produce, because you are continuously producing those pollutants, but then it's rain, it's again cleaned from the atmosphere. But as we proceed to the post-monsoon season and winter season, the atmosphere starts becoming stable. So when we say stable atmosphere, it basically means normally what happens as you go from surface or sea level up in the atmosphere, the temperature goes on decreasing. So we that's called the lapse rate, and that means temperature decreases. As long as the temperature decreases with height, atmosphere remains unstable. So there are different classifications of stability, but I'm not going to detail. So next phenomena is inversion. That means instead, as we move from surface up in the atmosphere, instead of temperature decreasing, start increasing. So we call it inversion. That means inverted. So what normally happens, decrease, temperature starts increasing. Those inversion conditions create stable atmospheric conditions, and we say that there is a capping of the atmosphere. When we say capping of the atmosphere, it means whatever the pollutants you are generating, they just tend to accumulate in the lower layers of the atmosphere and they don't disperse off. And your problems increases and the air quality index becomes very bad, and that's what happens basically. So this phenomena in the atmosphere is similar to the phenomena. Suppose if I have a pitcher pot and I burn some stuff inside the pitcher pot and I leave it open, so smoke will come out and it will disperse off. But if I put a cap on that or a lid on the pitcher pot, so all the pollutants will remain inside the pitcher. The similar mechanism happens in the atmosphere under stable or inversion conditions. There is a capping of the atmosphere and pollutants accumulate over there, and that it becomes dangerous. So here again, at India Meteorological Department has a very important role to play. We know when the atmospheric conditions are going to become stable. That means if they are next 3-4 days, their inversion is developing and it is becoming stronger and there is no western disturbance, that means no chances of rain. So pollutants going to accumulate. So this is the time we issue the warning. Already India Meteorological Department and Ministry of Earth Sciences have a SUFFER program through which this pollution forecast, air quality index forecast is given timely. People can go and go to the website. And similarly, if any rainfall, now for example, a western disturbance is approaching and it will affect the northwest India. So rains are expected. So when rains are expected, that means atmosphere is going to become unstable. Under unstable conditions, there will be rain and pollutants will disperse off and their intensity will be reduced. So this is how. So now we have a mechanism. We can monitor each and everything. Luckily, communication has also improved. Awareness has to increase now. You know, like you did through this seminar. And similarly, we should go to different schools and colleges and tell those people that now, see, we have a system in place and we need to explain them certain things, how we do it, and how they can access our products on our websites. And maybe some NGOs can join in between who understands all this thing, and then they can communicate them in even simple language to the common masses. Many times what happens is the people in the weather department may be knowing the subject, maybe knowing the things, but they may not be able to communicate in a very simple language. So this is what is required. Science, we have to make it very simple so that a common man understands. Because it's a meteorology, again, in atmospheric science, it is a lot of physics and maths. So it's very complex. But then we can make it simpler so that each and everyone can understand it and take better benefit out of it. So what we basically are telling that start factoring weather and climate information into your day-to-day planning. Be climate smart so that you become more aware. Your awareness is there, and naturally, if you are aware and you take timely action, you tend to become more resilient. So this is again, and you reduce the disaster risk. So entire process of early warning reduces your risk and makes you smarter so that you take action. They always say, one is forearmed. So this is what India Met Department is doing. I think I will stop at this thing. There's 1 hour. I know this thing, but then I love to take questions. Whatever certain things are left, it will come out in that. So I'll keep this now floor open. There are many things to discuss, but I think I will ask now the participants if they have questions. Feel free to ask me questions. Hello. Hello.
Participants are requested to, you can feel free to either post your questions or you can also
Hello.
ask your questions. Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any questions? Please.
Just waiting. Yes, sir.
There are no
You
questions?
can ask your questions in Hindi also. Feel free. Anything you wish to know from sir.
If anybody has any query related to how the weather forecast is done or how the entire system works, any doubt, please feel free to ask. Hello.
I don't think so, sir. There are any questions, not even in the chat box.
Yeah. Hello. Very, very feeble voice. Hello.
Sir, we can hear you.
Okay. But I'm not getting any response
Yes,
from
sir.
anybody.
Yes, they have not posted any
Very
questions
strange.
or queries.
Either nobody has understood what I spoke
No, sir.
or everything was clear.
Very good morning to you,
Hello.
sir. This is Dr. Ravinder Palakurti from Mahatma Gandhi Institute.
Hello. Yes.
Actually, your question has been, people have been requested to pose questions to you, but it seems they are
Okay.
reluctant or they may have understood everything thoroughly well. And the insights into the whole thing have been very clearly put by you. Maybe there are no questions for that.
Your voice is very feeble.
Otherwise, we are able to hear you properly, sir. Maybe in your mobile, the volume levels may be low. Sometimes webinar proceedings are almost one-sided.
Hello.
Yeah. Are you able to hear us, sir, now?
Hello. Hello.
Yes,
Now
sir.
now you are loud and clear, sir. Better than earlier time.
Okay.
Yeah. Dr. Sushma, it appears nobody has questions posed to respected Anand, sir.
Even if at some later stage, if you have any queries, feel free to write to us. We will convey your questions to sir and get you the
I
answer.
can't hear.
Sir, I think there is some issue with your phone because all the voices are clear. Even I can hear Dr. Ravindran very clear.
Hello.
Yeah, maybe settings are required in the mobile, it seems.
Achha,
Sir,
but I
increase
can't
volume
hear
levels are in your mobile.
All right, sir. Then if there are no questions, we will then move to the next speaker. Sir, thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully, even in our other endeavors, we will ensure that we take and seek your experiences and share your views with the participants. I think that they're a bit reluctant to share their queries. Thank you so much, sir, for taking us out some time and joining us today. Thank you, sir. We were to have, a doctor from AIMS, but I think today morning he had some other urgent requirements, so he is not joined us today. We are extremely thankful to Dr. Vignesh from SRM University. He's worked a lot in the area of air pollution, and they work a lot on health issues in planetary health aspect also. So we've requested Dr. Vignesh to join us today. And Dr. Vignesh, if you are around, you may start your presentation.
Yes. Thank you, Dr.
Do you
Sushma.
have the sharing rights?
No, I don't have the
Just
sharing.
please just give us a minute.
Is it over?
Yes,
Hello.
sir. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the
Have a
opportunity.
good day, sir. Have a good day.
Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is. It is.
Thank you. So, yeah, very good morning to one and all present here, and thank you for the brief introduction, Professor Sushma and Ms. Aradhana, and thank you for the great opportunity, as well as I'm grateful and thankful for the team NIDM as well as the other coordinating organization, Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Climate Change. And here the emerging topic which I want to discuss today is the planetary health, which is a continuous topic where we used to discuss among various countries, and also various problem has been reported here in this arena. So when I was recently joined this session, I was seeing the video which was playing by host, that regarding the air pollution as well as the pollution, various pollutions and health impacts in the Delhi region. So this topic will be closely associated with those videos as well. So coming to the topic, uh, yes. So now, as we all know that the climate is changing in globally, as it is very great evident that one of the major parameters for global climate change is the carbon dioxide level. So it's been below the threshold value for the millennium years but from after 1950, it is noted that it is increasing to the peak, which is highly hazardous and which can indirectly affects the climate change, which towards that various disastrous events also. So there is a other evidence for that Arctic data confirms that the Arctic sea ice coverage is also well below what it had been in the year 1917 and 1980. So due to this global climate change, this Arctic sea data like ice melt has happened, and which will lead to the sea level rise also in recent decades. And moving to the other day-to-day life activities, where we can see the China and Dubai in the comparison with in the year 1990 and 2013. So in the 1990, if you see that the top, the China is how the China is and how the Dubai is. But right now, there is a tremendous improvement in various urban development as well as the industries, various activities has been tremendously increasing. So you can see the difference within the 20 to 25 years gap. And this is the other evidence which was recently captured in Mexico, where it was there in the 1985, how the water bodies, the encroachment near the water bodies were felt. And right now, what is the encroachment? See here, you can clearly, yeah, small patches were there in the around the sea, but whereas now, if you can notice here, there is a serious improvement in the development of urban as well as the population growth. It is all due to the various anthropogenic activities. So yes, of course, these are all happening. What is happening to our human? That is the other challenging discussion which we want to have is, so right from 1950 till the year 2000, the data says that life expectancy is also increased, which means in the year 1950 the life expectancy is 40 years, but right now in the year 2000 it is reached to above 60, which is 75 to 80 years. And also poverty is also tremendously reduced from the year 1950 to 2000, and child mortality is also decreasing. But so which means that human population is healthier than even before. This what we see as a layman if you see outside. But what happens is really to achieve this, what we are exploiting the entire planet and how it is getting exploited. You can clearly, it is evident in the right side of the picture. Carbon dioxide emissions, for us to be healthy, the carbon dioxide, we are releasing the carbon dioxide emissions to the
Yes,
greater.
sir. Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you. Could you please make it full screen so that?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Is it okay? Is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the thing notice. And yeah, carbon dioxide emission, we can see that it is tremendously increasing because of various vehicular emissions as well as the industrial emissions. Ozone acidification is also a challenging task, which is greatly affected. And of course, we are using the energy in a different way. Nowadays, we have 2 or more than 3 cars in our house, which we are consuming the energy in such a way. And tropical forest loss, because of various human-made populations, we need to have the households, so we are destroying the forest and we are making the buildings. And water is also a challenging issue, which we are creating the enormous amount of water is also used due to the urban populations. And fertilizer use, because of the agricultural activities and for the food food feeding, there is the fertilizer use. So we can see that to the left, there is a positive wave of the human population, and to the right, you can see to achieve that positive wave, these are all the various natural phenomena which got affected, which is indirectly affecting the planet. So now it is evident that we are living in the expense of our future generation. That is the serious evidence. So in terms, if this situation exists in further future, what will happen is the climate change would relate to impacts of could cause 2 lakhs to 50,000 deaths per year, and also biodiversity loss. Already right now we can find various plastic contamination in the ecosystem, but still now again, if it the same situation persists, then it of course it will lead to the biodiversity loss and also nutrition and water use. 40% of world's population could be living in the areas under severe water stress, and there will be the serious soil degradation which won't support for the agriculture activity. So if it is not supporting for agriculture activities, obviously the food feeding is also will be stopped and the food demand will be rising. So it is of course an evident that we are living in the expense of the future population. So now if we want to lead a healthy life, we need our planet to be a healthy home. This is the right way which we want to focus. So where we are now actually. So before 11,000 years ago, and we used to call it the time period as an Holocene approach, which we call it as the humans are recently developing, including the written history. But nowadays we used to call it that new geological name, which you call it as Anthropocene approach, because various human activities are involved. Let us say agriculture or many urban industries, population growth, or various activities has been included. So we can change the geological approach as an Anthropocene approach. So let us come to what is this planetary health mean? Planetary health is the achievement of highest attainable standard of health, well-being, and equity worldwide through judicious attention to the human system. So it is not only standard of health, well-being, and equity worldwide. This is not, that is not that I am a biggest, richest man in the world, so that I will get a right resources and right natural resources. It's not that. So that is the thing. It is mainly concentrating upon is the highest attainable standard of health, well-being, and equity worldwide through judicious attention to the human system, political, economical, and social that shape the future of the humanity. So who found this concept of planetary health is the year 2015, that the two organization, one of the great organization is the Rockefeller Foundation, which is a New York based, US based organization, and the other is the Lancet, which is the famous journal company, which is coordinating for this, the planetary health. So what their main aim is, flourishing the natural system. So considering the Rockefeller Foundation, we can see that it is focused on four core commitments. One is end energy poverty, achieve health for all, and nourish the world, and expand the economic opportunity as well. So it has been the years back, it is clearly passed an act. The New York legislature passed an act that including their contribution of Rockefeller Foundation in their government. So which is they have initially gifts a totaling of about 35 million, followed by 65 million per year. So it is the it's play a major role and vital role in the New York Assembly. So now Rockefeller Foundation announces an inaugural class of new fellowship. They have been grand open for various fellowships on related to planetary health and environmental health as well. And recently in this COVID situation, they have launched a new COVID testing strategy to keep us US economy open, and also launches a new COVID-19 action plan to reopen the workplaces and protect lives. So what mechanism in which the harmful effects of ecosystem, so if the ecosystem is getting harmful or getting affected seriously, what change can it can influence to the human health, that we should understand is. So initially as a environmental changes, we can say climate change, ozone layer depletion, forest change, or land degradation, wet loss damage, biodiversity loss, freshwater depletion. So if these ecological imbalance occurs, what are all the effects which will lead to the human being is like, either it can be direct or indirect. So direct health effects like flood, cyclone, heat waves, water shortage, landslides. And in terms of indirect, we can say that the malnutrition will happen, altered of infectious diseases, which is the COVID is serious example for that. And diverse health consequences, livelihood, migration, population deployment might be there, employability also will be weakened. So these are all the various serious health effects which directly and indirectly affects the human population. So how, as Sir Professor Anand said that clearly told that yes, initial stage of this is the risk assessment. So when we are assessing the risk, we want to concentrate on the three major parameters, which is hazards, vulnerability, and exposure. So now, if these three are aligned together, yes, of course, the risk can be evaluated. So when aligning these three things, it is seriously, yeah, serious evident that the problems is on related to the climate change, ecological imbalance, as well as the human health effects. And next, planetary health presents a new way to think about this. So these are all the various problems which I have discussed in the earlier slide. So what this planetary health is, this planetary health presents a new way to think about the solving a complex problem and independent global problem. So it is possible with this concept, there is a chance of solving those problems. So yes, of course, how we can solve those problems. So before solving these problems, we should understand the boundaries. What are all the various boundaries available to solve those problems? It's not that we go as an individual, we go there and we are working towards the water conservation, and if it is possible, no, it is possible only to my family, it is not possible to the entire community. So what initial stage, what we want to understand is the boundaries. What are all the boundaries existing to solve those problems? So we can say that by definition of safe operating space, so there are 9 boundaries which Rockefeller Foundation and Landsat has predicted. So one is the climate change and novel entities. Novel entities is what are all the environmental, what are the human impact which creates the human interaction with the environment. Anything we interact with the human environment and it affects the environment means which comes under the novel entities. And ozone layer depletion, atmospheric aerosol loading, and also ozone acidification. Biogeochemical flows like phosphorus, nitrogen, nitrogen oxide, everything will come under this category. And freshwater use, land system change, also biosphere. So if you consider these 9 boundaries and find out the solution to strengthen these 9 boundaries, of course, they say that the planetary health will be strengthened. So right now, what is the situation in the year? This was published in the year around, I think it is in the year 2019. So what was the challenge? What was the boundary situation in the year 2019? You can say that almost 7 boundaries are at the highly risk. Only 2 boundaries are somewhat okay. For example, you can say the boundaries with the green color is safest side, yellow color is at the increasing the risk, and red is the highly at risk. So you can see that biosphere and this biogeochemical process are highly at risk, whereas climate change and other freshwater is at the increasing risk. So there is a next evidence, next slide. This is the slide which gives a clear evidence that what is the boundary value and what is the current status what we are now. This is climate change when the boundary value is 350, but the current value is 420, and biodiversity loss is 10, and now here we can see more than 100. And biogeochemical process is 35 is the boundary value, and now here we can see that 121. So similar way, we can see here fresh water alone is almost below the range. Land use also almost below the range. Then the boundary value is 15, the range is 11.7. And the fresh water is also 4,000 and the range value is below 2,000, I mean around 2,600. So what we can say is these two areas which is right now at the safest side, but it is not that safe. It is increasing to the greater extent. So there is a high need of emergence of planetary health. So the emergence of planetary health became a necessity because of the human health impacts of accelerating the environmental change, scale of humanity's ecological footprints, also global disease burden in the coming years, human stewardship for Earth's natural system. So there are 3 categories. So these are all the major problems which we are facing as we understood the boundaries. So now what challenges we will face when we are trying to implement something on these boundaries is the one is the imagination challenge, and other thing is the research and information challenge. The third one is the governance challenge. So what is this imagination challenge is failing to account a long-term process, because most of the imagination challenges will happen here is the most of the stakeholders or most of the organizations is working towards, it's not thinking to the sustainability or sustainable development. They are thinking to their immediate response and they are not acting proactively, then they act as a reactive manner. So that may lead to the similar way, it may go, it may, the solution may be for 1 year or 2 years, but in then for further future, obviously it will gains its original position. So that is comes under the category of imagination challenges. But when it comes to the research and information, of course, there we need a underfunding and lack of scope and research leading to the knowledge is also a greater failure in this arena. And coming to the governance, and various political influence may happen, various policies, decision makings will occur to implement the challenges and to implement the solutions for that planetary boundary. So that also will be the greater three challenges. If you are okay, if we are okay with these three challenges, and if we try to adapt these three challenges and we meet out these challenges and come to a conclusion, of course, I could say that we can live in a healthy form. As such, we can say that it is a planet is health. So it is a serious caution notice for all of us that the clock is ticking. There is a global water stress in the year 2030. Of course, you can find that India is, of course, it is in a red region. Severe water stress will happen, and no water stress and low water stress will be at the northern part. And we can say that we will have the water bank in the year 2050 will be highly at the demand, very highly at demand. And also entire planet will be under threat. You can see very high. It is highly threat to the either in terms of water or energy or anything. You can say in the year 2050 it will be at the highest risk. So what we need an improved understanding of connection between the natural system and the health. So why we need to understand why it is very much essential and what it is needed very emergency, very urgently is the one is the, as Professor Anand said, that yes, of course, initial stage you do assessment and identify the various problems, and various problems can be identified through a risk assessment. And next is the evidence based. You can create a evidence based policies so that the entire country or entire global countries can be implemented in their individual states. And other thing is the biological biodiversity conservation. The other is utilizing the current opportunities whichever available existing now and protecting those opportunities for our future generation. That is also these 4 points which is highly required to implement these planetary health concepts into the thing. So there are few case studies which I would like to discuss upon. Is the one of the case study is US based organization, US based NGO, which is at Indonesia. They have clearly the initial stage in the year 1989. Maybe next picture will clear a clear idea. So in the year 1989, they have, if you have seen the area, how much the green cover is very less. But right now they have 2017, they have increased the green cover to the greater extent. But if you see the other countries or the other states of many of the states of India also, if you consider the satellite images of green cover, obviously it will be decreased than increasing. But here they have maintained almost for 30 to 40 years. The green cover has been maintained clearly. And you can see that almost for many years, you can see the settlement. Settlement means the people who were settled over there, or we can say encroachments. Encroachments, you can see almost it is zero. And right in the year 2017, it is clearly indicated that only 30% right now. So the maintaining of green cover is highly essential and highly important. And they proved that the people around the villages, the people around the forest area villages are highly healthy, and they find many natural way of healing the health problems as well. This is the other case study which Sri Lanka mangrove conservation projects have done, established, is the educates the stakeholder at both the community and government level about the financial and health benefits to interact with the mangroves. So mangroves forest also plays a vital role in terms of conserving the sea level rise, or we can say there are nowadays, if you go for the various countries, there are various states are very much destroying their coastal mangroves, as well as which may lead to the serious problems. And we can say tsunami damage in Sri Lanka in the year 2004 was happened. And after that, yeah, this organization take an initiative to mangrove seedling. They have trained the local community people, and they have attained that maximum number of mangrove seedling around the coastal side. So this is one thing. And second thing, the state of Kerala is highly concentrating on the vetiver grass fruit system in the ecosystem, because this is also helps highly to in terms of hydrological disasters. So whatever it is, we can this vetiver system will be planted around the seashores or whatever it is, which can absorb the water content also, and which can have a tendency to reduce the impact of any disasters. So the other way around, what happens to this vetiver system is there is a serious uprooting way of various anthropons or trespassers who is coming around, since it has a more medicinal values. So what happens is they once we plant and go, if I come and see to that particular place after 1 week, it is not at all possible to see that particular vetiver in that location, which means there is a serious uprooting, since because it has a more medicinal values. So that is also happening. So proper location should be decided to plant this, and also proper monitoring or surveillance systems to be implemented, where Kerala is doing a great in terms of vetiver system. And this is one of the great study coming to the air pollutants and air pollutions. We can say that air pollutants. So if you consider the air pollutants majorly in India, we can say that SO2, NO2, and CO, and ozone and other things, we can say particulate matter. These five are the major air pollutants, which is highly impactful to the various human health aspects, also various environmental aspects. So considering this, what we have done based on the satellite images, which was also published in the year 2021. So what I have done in this paper is generally we have considered the four pollutants: NO2, CO, and SO2, and ozone. So now concentrating we have considered the entire India. So we have collected a satellite images. So in the year 2019 and in the year 2020. So in the year 2019, how the March, April, May, June, July, August is, and in the year 2020, how the March, April, May, June, July is. So of course, as a layman, we can easily say that of course 2020 there was a serious lockdown. So obviously it will be the air pollution will be very less in the year 2020. But 2019 there was no lockdown, there was no COVID. So we can say that of course the pollution might be rise. But actually we also thought before undergoing the analysis, we also thought the same way. But what the results came is, let us say that NO2 alone, we can find that NO2 alone has been reduced to the maximum, that to not maximum, to the minimum level it has been reduced, comparing to the year between 2019 and 2020. It might be due to the various restrictions in the vehicular emissions, vehicular also in the various restrictions in the vehicular transports, flights, etc. But when you consider the carbon monoxide, it is highly increased than the year 2019. And also SO2 is not increased, not decreased. It is almost equal. And ozone, it is very much increased in the year March, April, and May. So when we analyze the findings, what might be the cause for this is this might be due to the this is many various dairy industries. Also, we get food during the lockdown. Various dairy industries and various food industries has been operating. So what happened during this lockdown is yes. Yeah, minor company, medium or small scale organization itself, they started for producing a food, and they are supplying it for us and for a COVID relief measure. So when these things are happening, obviously the emission of sulfur was increased in the atmosphere. And what is the CO and other, again the other reason which we could easily find, which is also serious reason, is burning of dead bodies. So as we know that the death was peak at the year in the month of April, May, June, and in the year 2020. So there was a serious burning of dead bodies, as well as the buried of dead bodies was happening, which also releases the huge amount of sulfur as well as the carbon monoxide. That also leads to the highest death. And ozone is the this is oxygen level which is at the ground, which has been reaches to the we can say volatile organic compounds from various industries also released, and that is also at the peak in the year 2020. So what we can understand it is not possible that if we restrict the vehicles, or if we restrict the various activities, or either we be in a lockdown, full lockdown, or we be in a full open release of lockdown, nothing matters. But still the way which we follow the various activities, which we follow the various industrial process, which we follow the various environmental degradation process, may result to various aspects of air quality And nowadays, many various research has occurred in the terms of air quality, but now I could say easily that various indoor air quality problems has not been reported in various researches. I could say that we are staying in our office. I can say that from morning 9 o'clock to evening 5 o'clock, we are staying in office. Let us say we are using our air condition. Do you think so that whether do you find that whether any day have you ever checked the air condition filter is cleaned or not? Yes, no. Of course, 90% will say no. I don't know. I come, I switch on the AC, I will work. And if you open that filter and if you see that whether how much contamination will be there, yes, you will be seriously impressed, also surprised. That is one thing. And other thing daily, because we are spending most of our time at the schools, or our kids are spending at the times at the schools, or we can say most of the offices, most of us are there in the office, and we don't know what is the indoor air quality. We think that we are in a nice environment, good light, good fan, and good AC. No, it's not like that. Indoor air quality is also seriously affecting. So there is a serious research gap in the indoor air quality as well, which is should be concentrated by various researchers and scientists in, globally in our country. So this is other thing, and I would like to play a small video. Please, as a respected host, please confirm whether the volume is audible. The video volume is audible. Is it audible?
No, no, no. Audio is not playing. Yeah.
1 minute, sir. Then I will stop share and share again so that. Do
If
I
it is
want?
YouTube downloaded video, they don't play actually.
No, it is not YouTube downloaded. It is my own personal video only. So do I want to, if it is in a Zoom, we will give one option, share with sound. Do we have anything like here?
No. There is no hassle with this particular thing. You can directly play any audio.
Okay, 1 minute. Then let me check.
So there is an option. If you can
Yeah, please.
see the options above your screen on the left hand side, there is an option of share.
Yeah, share.
Are you able to see that, sir?
Yeah, share. Yeah.
Yeah. And in that share, there's an option of file.
Yeah, file.
Yeah. So if you're able, if you can, go to the
Okay.
downloaded file, and then the audio and video both will be clear.
Yeah, give me 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
I
No
got it.
worries.
I got it. And I am sorry I couldn't able to locate the video. No problem. Let me share so that I can you will get a clarity. 1 minute.
Our species faces many threats. Threats to health, threats to our planet, threats to our civilization. Our patterns of overconsumption are simply unsustainable. So we want to create a new social movement for planetary health, for everybody who's concerned about health, about the future of our planet, and about the future of its people. We have created an unjust global economic system that favors a small and wealthy elite. The idea of unconstrained progress is a dangerous illusion. We are damaging the natural systems that sustain us. We have to change the trajectory for our future. Health professionals have a special role. They can be the independent conscience of our society. So we call for an urgent transformation in our values and our practices.
Okay, maybe I can share the video as well in the YouTube link. So thank you. We think so that planetary health is not a new discipline. It is merely an extension of the concept that was understood by our ancestors and remains the occasion of all healthcare providers as well. So thank you. Any questions, please kindly post it in the chat box so that I can answer.
Firstly, thank you, Vignesh sir.
I'm sorry, your voice is echoing actually.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Vignesh sir, for in-depth understanding and detailed presentation on planetary health. We thank you once again. Also, if any participants have questions, please feel free to ask question in the chat box, and they can also be unmuted. One of the participant has raised hand, Praveen sir. Sir, if you are there with us, we have unmuted you.
रंजीत वो ले आ यार मेरे
Okay. So there's one question in Q&A chat box, but
Yes.
it's related with early warning system. So it's written, kids, early warning system also helpful in prediction of no rainfall or say drought in particular area.
Do I want to answer or sir is there or Sushma
Yes.
ma'am can
Yeah,
add up?
yeah.
Why is Praveen Shakya in the panelist group?
You please answer this. Dr. Anand has already left.
There's a question.
And the question is on early warning system. Can it be helpful in prediction of no rainfall or say drought in particular areas?
See, drought prediction doesn't happen in one go, right? That's the reason we always term it as a slow disaster, because it takes a while to understand if the crops have been, at different stages, they've been damaged or they are unable to grow in the usual seasons which otherwise they would. Yes, of course, early warning systems are available for localized weather predictions as well, and they do facilitate the detailing of how much rainfall or which is near about. It's a modeling, so that is why it's near accurate, although, but nonetheless you will have some scope of deviations as well. So once you get an information about whether it's going to be a less rainfall or an adequate one, based on that, in a lot of places now, the cropping patterns or cropping seasons are also being diverted to some extent. In some places, if you remember the video that is being played in the beginning of the sessions, we have shown in places like Haryana, Punjab, where a lot of farmers are relying on such nowcast and weather predictions for their seed sowings as well. When it comes to drought, of course, if there are predictions or if there are warning messages provided of less rainfall or no rainfall at all, and then over a certain durations, you'll have to monitor how much impact does it have, and the declaration of whether it is drought or not is based on much more assessments, and there are many more tools which is generally carried out by certain teams and from the center, which then declare it as a drought prone maybe area or likewise, because it is also associated with provision of some financial assistance to the state governments or likewise, so that it takes a lot of time. You have a drought manual that also gives you a very good insight into the different kinds of droughts that occur. Some are based on hydrology and then other meteorological aspects. So there are 4 or 5 kinds of droughts that happen. So you can have an access, read through the manual, and that provides a very good scientific detail to it.
Thank you for addressing the question, yeah. Pinaki Dasgupta, sir, has raised a question. Sir, you are unmuted. Feel free to ask the question directly.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you, Dr.
Uh,
Vignesh, for.
Dasgupta, sir, I hope I'm audible to you.
Yeah, I am. Am I audible?
Because the question is there in the chat box. Okay, so I'll read out the question. Okay, there are plenty of hands being raised. So we also have Dr. Sandesh Yadav. So you have been unmuted. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, all of you.
Hello, Dr. Sandesh Yadav.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, loud and clear.
Good afternoon, all of you. My question is that my question goes to Vignesh, sir, that during winter season, as we have a more stable weather conditions,
Yes, sir.
so it becomes really difficult to minimize the air pollution levels and particulate matter, cause the stable weather conditions and less movement of wind suppose the suspension of particulate matter in the air.
Yes, yes.
So, sir, though we are working on this particular thing to minimize the air pollution during winter season, but in your opinion, I would like to ask that any possible measures if you are people taking in your region or in your locality or your governmental measures so that we can take some sort of a you can say we can take your suggestions or your opinions as a way of measures to work here to minimize the air pollution during winter season.
Yes, sir. In our generally we used to. I can say that in our university we couldn't able to take it to the next level. We are trying to take it to the next level. Maybe we have a big. I'm from SRM University. We have almost 500 acres. So what we are doing in the winter season, as you said rightly, for the particulate matrix, we have stationed air quality device almost 12 air quality device in our campus actually to measure the air quality. So it will directly gives the values of particulate matter as well as this NO2 concentration. Since we have almost 50 to 80,000 students are there, almost the daily 120 buses will operate. Almost I am talking about the non-COVID situation. So for sure there will be the serious air pollution as well as a serious emission of vehicular emission will be there, and particulate matter is also at the high. So what we have generated in our area is every faculty every year should plant one tree. Almost we are here for almost 3,000 faculties are here in all different colleges from medical starting from diploma. This is one thing. Second thing is what we are doing is for vehicular emissions, what we are doing is we have a proper cycle, two-wheeler cycle, bicycle based system at the entrance of our campus, where most of the students will get down from the bus and they will take out this thing. And the third thing is we will voluntarily ask the students to get down from the entrance gate to walk. We won't allow the buses during especially in terms of winter, we won't allow the buses to get into the campuses where most of the populations are living. So these are all the three major measures which we have taken from our as part of our university. But we couldn't able to take this to the next level to the government things. Since we can see that we have almost based on our research, air pollution, air quality research interest on Chennai, Tamil Nadu city, we have stationed almost three air quality devices in the area, which we have segregated as residential area and highly transported traffic area, and one is the commercial area. So always we find that the commercial areas records a high amount of air pollution, which is, as you said rightly, during the winter, it is highly stagnated over the particular this thing. This was reported to the government at various aspects, but still there was a lagging of, as I told, that there is a serious governance challenges is obviously there. And right now this we have a green signal from the government that they are asking us to frame a policy framework to recommend those commercial industries that how they can release the emissions in such a way so that it won't affect the environment. So this is what we have done as per our concern and also for Tamil Nadu concern, sir.
Thank you for addressing the question, sir. There is one more question from Mr. Dasgupta. Sir has mentioned, do you have any reference for the extent of damages with respect to planetary boundaries for India or Indian subcontinent?
Come again, any references related to?
So I'll repeat the question again. Do you
Yeah, yeah.
have any reference for the extent of damages with respect to planetary boundaries for India or Indian subcontinent?
Yeah, this is generally, I can say that this is one of the published from Lancet paper only. What happened is this 9 boundaries has been predicted only through all the continents, not only for India, or it's not only for subcontinents. It is generally determined for all the continents over the states, over the world. So now this mainly, I can say that if you see initial stage, if you assess the hazard with these 9 boundaries for your India, I can say, or for in your state, I can say, for sure, almost any of the state will cover under the 7 boundaries. Most of the states will be at risk for 7 boundaries at least, because it's based on various studies contributed from various countries only they have published this. And I have given the reference at the bottom also. You can read that paper, Lancet, Rockefeller Foundation for Lancet. It is easily available in the internet. So these boundaries are mentioned world level only. And I can say that if you do a risk assessment, as Professor Anand said at the initial stage, first of all, initially identifying the hazard, which means identifying the hazard means you should assess the risk. Initially, if you assess the risk, of course, I can say that almost most of the states or country will cover coming under the category of 7 boundaries, which is at high risk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your response. If any participants have more questions, please feel free to ask the question in the chat box. If not, then I request Dr. Okay. Participants, there's also an option to raise hands. We can unmute you directly. Please feel free to use this platform and opportunity. Use it Praveen sir, you have raised a hand, so we have unmuted you. I hope I'm audible to you. Please feel free to ask questions. So I'm sure there's some technical issues. Moving ahead with the session, now I request. Yeah, definitely a big thank you to Dr. Vignesh. Despite emergencies, he still joined to us for this session, and he gave such elaborate and detailed presentation. For that, we'll always be very, very thankful to you, sir. And now I also request Dr. Ravindra sir to give the closing remarks for the session and also the vote of thanks. Sir, over to you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Vignesh sir. Thank you very much for an excellent session. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 100%.
So thank you very much, sir, for being with us and providing insights into the weather conditions and the impact of this. Actually, I have some issue here. Yeah, now it is corrected. I thank the esteemed speakers of this 3-day training program for making it to the program and delivering excellent sessions and providing us insights into the climate-related disasters. Actually, this 3-day training program was planned to be offline and face-to-face program, but due to certain compulsions and due to the COVID situation prevalent in Delhi, we had to reduce it to a 3-day online training program, and thus restricting all the topics and making it very concise and shortening the sessions. We had to go ahead with the 3-day online training program. And definitely this program has highlighted climate-related disasters. Actually, people talk more about natural disasters. Whenever people think of disaster, they think about natural disasters, but not many people understand what is climate-related disasters are going to have impact on us, our lives. So this program has clearly brought out climate-related disasters and rightly out by Dr. Ranjan of NIDM. We are all familiarized with such important issues, and especially impact of weather and air quality in changing of Delhi and NCR region. And especially yesterday I was referring to the state action plan on climate change for Delhi, which is under revision. It is supposed to be finalized any time soon, which will definitely address most of the issues raised by our esteemed speakers and all the departments and stakeholders like the MCDs, Delhi Development Authority, and education department, the health department, and many other departments of Delhi are coordinating with environment department and giving their inputs about the vulnerability aspects of Delhi and what are the various important action points that are to be undertaken in the coming PCC, which is going to be prepared for 2022 to 2030 now, and which will also have projections beyond 2030. So that type of arrangement is being made by government of Delhi, and now it is time to close the session. And I would like to propose vote of thanks not only on my personal behalf but also on behalf of NIDM and Mahatma Gandhi Institute. And I thank all the authorities of National Institute of Disaster Management for taking interest in collaborating with Mahatma Gandhi Institute in organizing this event. And we are very pleased to be associated with this institute, which is one of the premier institutes in the country, which is dealing with the disaster management aspects. And as a climate change institute, we are doing a lot of activities related to climate change, sustainable development, energy related things, but we don't really focus much on climate related disasters and other disaster management related disaster reduction related activities. Now with this program, the horizons have opened for us. We are going to focus more on these aspects also. That's the reason why I would like to thank authorities of disaster NIDM for collaborating with us and making us partners in this program. And I thank all the speakers who have delivered excellent sessions during the last 3 days in this program and making it to the program and making it a successful one. And I thank all of the participants. Nonetheless, they are the people behind the success of this program. They have taken interest and they have actively participated and providing us feedback also through online chats and all that. And because this program is going live on YouTube, the audience is widespread, and even across the country, people are watching this telecast, this broadcast on WebEx and through YouTube. I thank all the participants for taking interest in the program and registering and participating and encouraging us to do programs in future as well. I thank once again all of them, and I thank all my colleagues in the institute, including my director, for giving me all the freedom to do this program in collaboration with the NIDM. And my special thanks are to Dr. Sushma Guleria and Dr. Aradhana, who have been very supportive and who have been very cooperative in collaborating and in cooperation with the Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Combating Climate Change. For all these 3-day programs, one and all who have contributed to the success of program, I thank all of them, and thank you all. I hope now it is time to close the session, and if Dr. Sushma Guleria wants to close it officially, I would hand it over to her. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Vignesh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. for addressing the closing remarks for the session and for also the vote of thanks. Since we have come to the end of the 3 days online training program, I would also like to thank Ravindra sir on behalf of NIDM for collaborating with us and also sharing this platform and opportunity. We are grateful to MGI CCC for their support. Now, I have few instructions for the participants. Participants will receive their feedback form at NIDM portal. Kindly visit our portal at www.nidm.gov.in. Once the participants are able to fill their feedback form, then the e-certificate will be automatically generated. Also, the feedback form will not be available immediately. Please have patience. Also, the feedback form will be available 24 hours completion of this training program. So I would request the participants to at least wait for 24 hours, and then the feedback form will be generated, and this certificate will be available at NIDM portal. So on this note, I would like to end the session here. Thank you all for your time, consideration, and patience.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindra sir. Bye to all the participants. Please be safe. Take care.
Thank you. So nice of you for being. Sometimes the audio is getting distorted. Thank you all again. Please take care.